Yo ho!
There it is.
Are we live? We're live. Hey Jason.
Hey.
Okay. You all didn't wait. You got started early.
Did.
Welcome to the Breakthrough Chronicles, Stories of Transformation, a podcast production of the Breakthrough Atlanta community. The voices you've heard at the beginning of this episode are David Traub, one of our Breakthrough Atlanta facilitators, Jason Rockhill, a member of our Breakthrough Atlanta community, and me, Brian Rosefield, a member of this Breakthrough Atlanta community and co-host of this podcast. This podcast is dedicated to sharing the transformative stories and experiences of individuals who have participated in Breakthrough Atlanta. To learn more about our community, visit breakthroughatlanta.com, Breakthrough Atlanta on Facebook, or Breakthrough Atlanta on Instagram. All locations will tell you more about the life-changing courses that we offer and answer many questions you may have about Breakthrough Atlanta. We hope to see you at a course very soon. Now let's get back to this episode with Jason Rockhill.
How did you discover this work? And so let's start there. How did you discover it and what got you into it?
Well, I didn't willingly get into it. Like
Right.
like you've interviewed my wife on this before, and she's active in the community. That I was under, I'll say, significant amount of pressure to go through the course and put up a fight for, a couple years at least.
She was relentless, wasn't she?
It was, and that's kind of that's a running theme with lots of things, that she didn't give up on it, and I just kept fighting it, and it, and then eventually I said yes, and then I kept putting off when I would go, and then finally did it, and I feel kind of dumb for fighting it for so long. And
listen, let me just tell you, Jason. When my wife and I, we were, our therapist said you might want to check this thing out, and I said, well, you go check it out and tell me about it. And she went, and then she says, well, now it's your turn to go, and I'm like, I don't know. My life didn't get any better because you did the course. I still don't think I want to go. So I was reluctant as well, is all I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Well, I think that, I don't know if I believe it yet, but I don't know if I ever thought there was anything wrong with me, and that, I didn't need to be fixed or whatever. So like, that's therapies for people with problems, and I don't really have problems, and all this stuff that you believe about yourself, whatever, that like slowly gets like the brick by brick, the wall comes down eventually. And you realize that you need this stuff.
Well, you know what? I'll push back on that just a little bit, Jason, because I think on one hand you're right. Well, on both hands you're right. I mean, you're not broken and you don't need to be fixed. Yes. And absolutely, we help people see things that they don't know that can improve the quality of their life. So I think on both counts you're right.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess that's how I thought before I went in. It's like, I'm not broken. I don't need this shit. Like, what are you talking about that I need to do this for? Like, I don't need this.
Right.
And then realizing that, oh yeah, there's something to be gained here. That's silly for ever putting up a fight. I don't know. I never said I was smart.
Yeah. Well, so how was it different coming back as an assistant versus going as a student?
It felt a lot like being in the classroom the first time too. I felt like, and I feel like I might have said this to you, but I said it to a bunch of people. Like, I felt like going through, I think you gain, like, just listening to everyone else's stuff. Like, if you can't find things that are applicable to your life or that like resonate with you with everyone else's stuff, you're kind of kidding yourself. That, like, you feel like you're going through it yourself, but also, everyone else's stuff is resonating with you. And then once you come back as an angel, it's just more of that, where you're removed from the, spotlight. You don't really have to, make any statements about how yesterday felt to you as an angel, but you're still getting that, like constantly people working through their shit and like trying to get better. And that if you can't find those things that, oh yeah, I do that in lots of people's stories, then you're just like oblivious that it's just like, it's almost like you're in there doing the work, but like you're feeding off of other people's work to make your work kind of easier. But you're not cheating, but you're like, you're allowing other people's stuff to affect you. I feel like there's a lot of stuff that happens in that classroom that like, that person that gets chosen to be the leader kind of gets put through the ringer. That, like watching that happen and how it affects them. And if you can't feel that, you're hiding from something. I think that, I'm always trying to look for like perspective and new ways of looking at stuff for myself. And if you can't find so much stuff and all of everyone else's shit, your details might be different. Like your relationship to your parents might be a little different, but they still did something to you.
Well,
that you can find stuff.
Yeah, I will say it's fairly usual, fairly kind of common that people think before they come to this work that there's nobody like them. Now, of course, there is nobody like them, but they take it too far. They really feel like, their own difficulties are unique to them and such a kind of a chronic uniqueness. I remember that when my wife and I first went back to couples therapy, one of the most amazing things we saw were other couples having arguments about the trash. It's like, boy, we're not the only people on the planet that argue about taking the trash out or mundane conversations. Like, really? I thought we were just stupid when everyone is having these problems.
Yeah.
That was pretty relieving. Pretty, it certainly opened up a space to investigate where I was sort of stomping on it before, like there's something wrong. So I think it's the same way that you're describing in the course room.
I mean, you got to do the work yourself for sure. But like, there's like being in a room of people who are all doing the work or who are there to help other people do the work because they've done the work before you is like, if you're not getting stuff from all over the place in there, you're just not paying attention.
Well, so what do you think, or how would you articulate some of the things that you got?
I went in there thinking that I needed to, advocate for myself a little more, and kind of left feeling like I kind of paralyzed by this thought that I had to get everything perfect all the time. That, and that's kind of the thing that was this huge relief kind of thing that like is, makes you not step up and do something because you're not sure if you're going to do it right or whatever. And like realizing that everyone's still just kind of figuring it out. And like, you don't get it perfect the first time. You don't get it perfect the 10th time all the time. That like, you just got to keep working. And like I said, like I went in thinking I needed to advocate for myself. And then I left thinking that I need to give myself a break. And both things are probably true, but, yeah, it was, you think you know what your thing is, and then something else reveals itself, and you're like, yeah, that's what it is. It felt relieving for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I tell people all the time that they know some of what's going on, like they'll self-diagnose. But the reality is if they actually saw the thing, probably the thing underneath the thing, they'd have fixed it already. Like it wouldn't be a thing anymore if they actually saw the thing that's really interfering with their full expression or their joy. They actually saw it, fully. So that tracks. I'm curious you've gone from, I don't want to do the course, to doing the course, to assisting the course. And now you volunteered to do a podcast, which is like not only a step further, but also even in the domain of how do you do this one right? What was the motivation for that?
I actually got asked to do a different podcast for a completely different reason earlier the week that I said I'd do this. And I was like, well, I should just go ahead and do Breakthrough one too. But, Laura's been involved with the podcast and trying to push the podcast on me for a long time. Not push in a bad way, but not and more about pushing to listen to the episodes.
Okay.
And in the in between stuff at the last class, she yells out across the room to Brian to be like, "Hey, Jason, I'll do a podcast."
Right.
And it's one of the funny things we talk about around our house lately is that yes is more fun than no. So I decided to go yes on it.
That's cool.
And like I said, I had this other thing come up where I'm involved in this music festival that happens here in Gainesville every year, and there's the podcast about that. And someone asked me to be on that, and I was like, well, I said yes to that. I'll do the Breakthrough one too. I didn't think it would happen so fast, but yeah, it's yeah. And you say in the class a little too. I sometimes the work is to say the things out loud.
Yeah.
It's like if you think it in your head, it's different than if you actually have to say it. I think it having to put together a coherent thought about what something meant to you is part of the knowing something. I don't know if that makes sense, but I think you have to talk about it to for it to really be real.
It makes sense. You mentioned your music podcast, and I know music is a big thing for you. Tell us about your music. Tell us about your involvement and what excites you there.
Well, I've been in Gainesville for years. The thing I say all the time about people ask me what I've been doing in my life. I spent my 20s on tour with bands, where I was the road manager guy, driving and settling up with promoters at the end of the night and selling merch and ordering merch and paying for stuff and all that. So I was for my 20s I was on tour. For my 30s I ran a music venue, and then in my 40s I paid for it. And
what does that mean? Say something about what does that mean?
There's a toll that I don't know. It's one of the things when you spend that long, for lack of a better term, roadieing and then working at a bar, when you go try to get another job, people just think you dicked around for 20 years. When there was a lot of work that went into that. Yeah. And maybe I accrued some debt over that. I might have owed the government a little bit of money. And I had to dig myself out a little hole. Gotcha. And free and clear of all that now. But so much of the, I have this huge community of people that I know from, 30 plus years of being involved in this Florida underground music scene that, it's just kind of part of what I am at this point. I've taken on all these kind of behind the scenes, logistical jobs. That's what I do for this music festival. It's called The Fest in Gainesville. And
but hold on a second. Aren't you in a band?
I am in bands too, but yes, I am in a band as well. So I have all this logistical promoting, doing shows stuff, and then I also have been in bands over the years too, and I'm in a band. Yes, I like that behind the scenes making stuff happen thing more.
I love it. So what's your genre? What's your fave?
I mean, loosely it would be punk rock, I guess. rock bands, like, loud, aggressive rock bands.
So there's a part of your 20s that hasn't left you.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I'm definitely taste wise, I might be stuck in the 90s a little bit. But try to keep myself open to stuff. But it's I'm Gen X kid who, in some ways never grew up in that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's another reason, like for me, the idea of sitting in a course room for a weekend, just the idea of it was the antithesis of a great weekend. I think that may have been something playing for you as well. No?
There's, I guess on top of that, like not advocating for myself and having to do stuff perfectly, I've always been a guy who just kept himself busy. So, the sitting in, a little hotel like conference area with the AC kicking on and off and wild temperature changes, and then not having my phone anywhere around, and I feel detached from all the other things that maybe have my fingers in all over the place, is like at first jarring, but then once you kind of sit in it for a minute, you're like, okay, this is being present, and I need to live here more often than just being kind of all over the place and paying attention to all the stuff in my life and sports scores and the news, and you just have this supercomputer in your pocket all the time that just you can dive into and get lost.
Yeah.
That making yourself sit there, you just got to do it. You can't be go, and
Right.
you got to look inward some.
Well, I think you're describing what I would say there's a distinction about being busy that fills your time, and then there's other kinds of activities that fill your life. Does that land?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that I've probably been too much of a time filler than a life filler, for sure.
Oh. Well, so what's next? What's your next big project? You've got the fest. You want to say more about your excitement around that?
I hadn't thought we were going to go to this place. But it's been going on for 26 years. I've worked every year of it. By festival standpoints, it's kind of small. There's 7,000 people go to it. Like the Bonnaroos and the big festivals are,
Sure.
3 or 4 or 5 times as big as that. But it's just something we do. We kind of turn downtown Gainesville into this walking party. There's every place that does music in town does shows. Some places that don't do music normally figure out a way to do it for that weekend. And it's just in different political times, we have large groups of people that come from all over the world. Last year, and looking forward to this year, there's some visa concerns for people, and sometimes it's not some people don't want to come to the States right now. So maybe we'll see them again in a few years. But there used to be this huge international community that would come, because it kind of represents this very niche, brand of punk rock or whatever that was in Gainesville in some ways was sort of a ground zero for that in the late 90s and 2000s, that it kind of is this sort of a weekend celebration of that. But yeah, like I said, I didn't think we were going to talk about this stuff.
No, that's fine. But I think part of the podcast is for you to be seen and known, as well as sort of speak to your experience. I mean, it may be soon yet. Not having that much time to really sit in the work, you've been doing it. But do you notice that any of what's come from the workshop work is already starting to show up in these other venues for you?
Well, there's definitely I can definitely see a through line in the building community aspect. I think that's, like I said, but I've been involved in doing shows and bands all through Florida for 30 years. There's people I've known for that long. There are support structures, while not always like emotional, are there. And there's like, the kind of like, this like, I'd say this music is loud and aggressive, but there's a like, the stuff that really resonates with me has this like, strong positive, like awareness of yourself aspect to it that, I a lot of like the breakthrough stuff really resonates with me with like, the lyrics and the message of a lot of the music I've loved for my whole life. So it's I feel a through line. It makes so much sense to me to be involved in this community, because I've been involved in other communities very much like it. But like I said, it's never been as like, emotional support like Breakthrough tends to be. But there's I come from a very supportive community of people. But this is like just like another aspect of that probably really needed.
Well, that's really cool. I mean, you do have more foundation in connectedness than a lot of people. Certainly more than I did before I got into this work. What do you think the emotional parts, the fluency that you're getting in this work? How do you think that's going to contribute to what's already happening for you?
I mean, I've been accused of being an angry guy. I've like worked on it for a long time. I'm like, I don't want to like ignore when things make me angry, but I think that ability to let it happen and move through it and get through it and not let it, kind of rule the next little chunk of time, is that being able to, feel it, let it go, move on. And like anger, sadness, all of it, like you don't have to be ruled by them. You can't ignore them, but it's that, the being able to like move through it and get on is, like I've worked on anger for a long time, and like I can get there, and like I feel like I'm in a place where I'm like not letting it rule me. That I like not letting, like unclench my fists a little bit has been good.
Yeah, that's likely your mastery in there is likely to improve with time for sure in this work. Now we know your wife was involved, and then your son as well came to the course. Do you find that now, having gone through the course, you all have a different vocabulary, or do you notice any differences now that you all are sort of speaking the same language?
Well, I mean, definitely. I think it's just like the all having the experience of going through it, sharing vocabulary. Yeah, I mean, it's really powerful and bonding, and you like it's it's been amazing watching kind of like, Max grow up with those tools. That I never took the time to think about how I was feeling about anything when I was a late teen. So yeah, it's like, that, like the surviving experiences together is like bonding, like, you might be, it doesn't have to be like a, like a scary thing, but in some ways go into a room of strangers and possibly like, some people spend the whole weekend bawling their eyes out. That like you have to make that step into it is scary, and that we've all like kind of conquered that that thing and come out the other side, gone back into it, come out that one too.
Yeah.
You know,
But
like you have to know you can do it, and we all have done it
well, it's
and
clear to
keep
me.
doing it.
It's clear to me, having met and knowing your family, you know, work, having and spent time with your son, and certainly with your wife. You know, you had a very loving, connected family to begin with. But do you feel any deepening of those bonds as well out of this emotional capacity?
Absolutely. It's, you know, I would say it's a little hard to put into words, like how or why it's better, but it just is.
Yeah,
And I
I mean,
feel
I
like
wanted to stipulate that it was extraordinary to begin with, just to be
yeah,
clear.
yeah.
Yeah,
But there's definitely everyone's more open. Um, we've, like in some ways, Max is 18 years old. He doesn't want to stay around the house that much, like he's like, you know, he's 19 now. He's working full time basically now for the first time ever. He's like, free to drive and go do whatever he wants. So like he's, becoming himself and exploring more, which is something that he wasn't doing before he went through the course. That in some ways you just got to let that little bird fly.
yeah.
But you know, me realizing that I really do need to just like sit down and just like be with everybody in our house has been a big change. Like I would find a reason to go do something out in the backyard, or find a reason to, oh, we need this thing, I'll go get it. Like just stay busy. Like I feel like that's productivity, but it was just like avoiding sitting in a moment with anything. Just like I'll do the thing. I'll go do it. Or I was going to do this thing, and not just like being his bit. Like my more active role in our house and family has probably been the biggest change.
That's awesome. And my wife used to tell me, you should go hang out with your friends. And I was like, what is this hangout thing you referred to? What are we going to work on? What are we going to build? What are we going to do? Just being able to share space with someone seemed to be pointless when I wasn't really slowing down and connecting. So I think that resonates for you.
Definitely.
It's funny, Jason, you mentioned about being an assistant and being able to relate to what the students are sharing and what they're going through. And I'm having that experience today, just listening to you. I'm like, look at how busy I am. Interesting. I wonder how many times I'm checking out. And so it's just, I don't know, man, it's hard to describe the magic that happens in the room, and it now even happens on this podcast. So I appreciate you sharing it, man. It's really helpful for me to hear it.
Yeah, and I think it's also true. Like you don't have to be like, there's a kid in the last class who would just like, when he wasn't comfortable, he'd just go on a tear, just talking. And I don't think I've ever been like to that level, but I noticed it like, I kind of do that sometimes when I don't want to talk, when I want to over talk maybe my boss at work or something, where I just like go on like word vomit so he can't get a word in, and we're just going to do the stuff that I wanted to do anyway. That I noticed that like I don't do it like as a huge defense mechanism, but like just finding those like, I've really enjoyed, I don't know if you ever read that book, Atomic Habits, but it's about making incremental changes that have like huge benefits later on. It's almost like if you change the course of your flight or ship or whatever, a degree at your leaving time, you end up at this place way out of where you were headed or whatever, that, you just find I resonate. That makes sense that I do that sometimes. I can being like noticing that and being aware of that and being in a space where you can just sit there and like realizing like, man, I do that all the time, whatever it is, not just the talking thing, but like, you gotta like, chill out and let yourself be honest with yourself about like, yeah, I need to shut the fuck up, or I need to speak up, or I need to like just chill out, or whatever it is. Like there's those moments that are all true for all of us in some point, that there's learning to be done through other people's work. That I feel like the course room is like one of the only places where you get the microscope is so broad. I don't know.
Well, I mean, when I met you, I saw a tender man. I saw someone with a heart. I wonder if in the slowing down and really being able to spend the time, are you having a better appreciation of your heart, of your goodness that you may have taken for granted or just sort of been too busy to notice?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel more at ease for sure, and like I don't know, I haven't had anyone like, some people told the story about like they go through the class and everyone's like, "What did you do? Like you're different," and I haven't had that from anybody. But I think there's just like the not being a little more sure of yourself, like does show itself all over the place, even if no one ever notices it. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm referring more to your experience of you, less than other people's noticing. I mean, for the most part, unless you change significantly, people always see you as you've always been. I mean, you can have massive changes unless you really are doing something wildly different. People don't even notice it. So the question is really about your experience of you or your relationship with you.
I mean, I think that like, the realization that I've been like really too kind of like trying to get everything right all the time, me letting that go in myself, I can see it where I'm definitely like show other people more grace about that stuff too. Like it's where like I can see it where in my conversations with I kind of run a maintenance crew for a restaurant group, and I have some guys that work for me that don't always do the right thing all the time, but we can my supervisory role, I feel like I'm doing a better and better job all the time because I'm not beating myself up about all this shit all the time, that I'm trying to let the work I'm doing with me kind of allow me to be kinder to them. And it's something I've caught myself like after an interaction, where like, whoa, I don't know if I would have done that a year ago.
Yeah, I mean that's clearly reflective of deepening of compassion for yourself. When you're this thing about noticing how you had to be perfect, noticing, I think built into that sentence is also some level, some aspect of compassion for how hard that's been, or how much work it's been, or how unfair it's been, or how unreasonable it's been, or there's compassion packed into that. Does that ring for you?
Yeah, for sure. And that's maybe one of the I know. I mean that's with some of this stuff being, I took the course in September. Like did the angels less than a month ago, that may be still part of the stuff I need to be reflecting on, and that will come to me as we keep going.
Yeah, it definitely feels like it's the unfolding of it, and as you said earlier, the articulating of it that brings it present to you. But
for sure,
But what you're describing about how you're being different with your fellows is a measurement that it's actually moving. Compassion for yourself is growing. So that's cool.
Yeah, definitely. Like kind of making me, I'm quiet because I'm thinking. So
Yeah. I'm sure it's showing up in your family as well. I'm sure it is. Without you really knowing that it's happening, it's, again, the place where you're giving yourself space, you're going to be giving other people space without even trying.
yeah, I can see it too. Like that, there's something you talked about last course is like about how children think everything is really serious.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that letting go of like the stakes for this are not very high right now or whatever. Realizing that, sometimes the stakes are high and you gotta like act like the stakes are high, but a lot of times the stakes are not high, and not treating everything like it's a 4-alarm emergency is like, a shift that it's hard to even imagine how much of a change it is.
Yeah, for sure. Moving from everything being an emergency to some things being important. It's a whole different shift in mindset. And it takes an adult on board to process important instead of the alarm that the child is living in, for sure. Now, how would you describe this course? I'm almost afraid to ask you. How would you describe this course to someone that showed you some interest in? Well, you took a course. Well, how would you describe it, Jason?
Wow. Should have gotten this question in advance so I could have a really good answer for it. I mean, I think that
it's all good.
I think it's the course is all about learning to know yourself better and like maybe stop fooling yourself about things you think are true and digging in on yourself and not letting your attention shift away from yourself in like, not in a super selfish way, but where you're like, it's got to be about you. It's a class about you. It's not about anything else but you and how you're reacting to all this like stored up shit in your life that have built dumb rules for yourself. Yeah, I don't know if I can dig myself much of a bigger hole than that right now.
That's beautiful, because the thing is that very few people dedicate a weekend to truly them. They may take a course to be more productive, or they may learn how to do this skill or that thing. But I think what you said is right on. I mean, you're pointing at the center of it. I have dedicated a weekend to figuring out how I work. I agree.
It's really powerful, and I know Laura's listening to this. I think there's a T-shirt in there. The T-shirt says,
"Oh my goodness."
The clean version. I mean, whatever. It's a podcast. We can curse. But the clean version is stop making dumb rules for yourself. That's the shirt. That's the T-shirt. It's super powerful, but that's the T-shirt. So y'all take that and run with that, Jason.
Yeah, dumb rules. Yeah, I mean, you build up all this like, like I'm smart, I'm dumb, I'm slow, I'm fat, I'm beautiful, I'm whatever, like, and then like, well, I can't do this, I can't do that because someone told me that or whatever. Like, shut up.
Yeah.
Like it's like this like clutter in your head. Like, you gotta, maybe the class is like a broom. Yeah, with love, for sure.
With love. Shut up. With love.
With some some tough love and some like,
Sure.
like brutal honesty about certain things. But yeah, you got to like shake it loose a little bit.
Yeah. Now, would you say that the room is a good, that we create a space that makes that possible? Do you think that's part of what happens?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think it is like the group that's together that eventually makes it to that spot, because everyone that's like taking the class is skeptical, and both that like everyone's got different reasons for being there, whether someone made them be there or someone like convinced them to be there or whatever. They like, what's this all about? And like, what can I like, this can't possibly help me, or maybe someone's like really seeking for help or whatever. But eventually if you get won over by everyone's there to support, and that everyone's got to do this work kind of in their own speed. And some people get it super fast. Some people think they got it super fast, and then something happens on the third day and they like lose it, and like then it all comes together. And it's sort of the thing with me. Like I felt like I kind of cruised through the first 2 days. The third day, like I think it's cool not to know what the exercises are going into it. So I don't really want to say what the exercise was, but it's sort of like after that, the dominoes kind of fell in reverse on me, and like kind of put it all together, that everyone's on their own timeline, but like it's your work to do. And you have all these people there that have done the work too, and they're there to support you to do it. Felt like I just rambled.
No, it's a wonderful extension to how you would describe the course. So you're digging out of that hole you thought you were in pretty well,
No.
Jason.
And I think, it was going back as an angel that kind of, sealed it for me. Like I said, like I fought going for so long, and then realized like, why did I fight this after I took the class? And then I like, angeled, because that is sort of your second part of the class. And then I was under some like, when are you going back? Around the house. And it was the second part, I thought I would do it again and then never go back again, maybe. And I think I'll be back. I can't say I'll be back every class, but I'll be back fairly regularly. I think there's, work to help with. I think that's probably, you said it to me the other day, like there's not really, like a lot of men in those classes that like, it's cool to, to represent, like, here's this, we haven't talked about this. I'm like 6'3", 240 pounds. I'm a big guy. To have like me occupying that space in that class might be really good for somebody.
Well,
That I can be helping with work that I don't even know.
Yeah. To be clear, we have a fair amount of men that come through.
Yeah.
But for sure, you see, in the world, there are very few people that stand in that space that you're standing. Big men in this work, doing their work, working on emotional fluency, being sensitive, being able to display sensitivity, being able to be accepting of sensitivity. That is, that's such a soothing balm for a lot of people that have had nothing but the stereotypical male that isn't feeling, that is, all action and no feelings. So it's incredibly helpful to have big men that are doing their work in the course room and in the world for that matter. So yeah, you're certainly invited back for many reasons. So what's next for you? What do you see on your horizon? I mean, you've got the fest in front of you. What's your next big venture?
I think just plugging away the stuff I got going on. I don't know. I have a job I like pretty well. Trying to hire a new guy to help me get more done at work. That I don't know how breakthrough that is, but it's I really like being a busy, productive guy. Carrying on learning not to let that rule me is part of my work.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I like continue doing the music stuff, both in bands and logistically helping other things happen. Do other little events here and there, whatever. That staying busy and keeping it where I'm I'm still maintaining sense of me and not becoming just the work. Is the work, I feel like, for me. That busyness and a completed to-do list is not the most important thing.
Gotcha. Well, so when you think back on your experience as a student or as an assistant, without sharing anything confidential or names or people or whatever, are there any particular moments that really stand out in your mind? Because usually people will say, well, this is the moment that really shifted me this weekend. Are there any moments that you recall that really opened your heart or made a shift for you?
Well, I'm gonna talk about a moment with me and one of the exercises where it was that thing on the third day that it was like I said, the dominoes falling in reverse, where it's sort of was when the light bulb went off and I figured out this is mostly about me trying to get everything perfect. And thinking about the idea of being able to go back and talk to a younger me about it's okay to fuck this up, kid, is that's the thing that made it make sense.
Cool.
That I probably really needed that way back then, but I definitely needed it now.
Yeah. We do a lot of work in the course room to help people to connect. I mean, I think for myself, I believe that one of the world's largest wounds is this separation that people have. Families are smaller, communities are more easy to come and go, and there's less bond that way. We do a lot of things in the course room to create connection. Did you experience any of that, or is there any of that moved you or touched you as well?
Well, I mean, I would say there's definitely one of the things that made me not feel like, when I'm hearing about what breakthrough is and, fighting it at the beginning, the thing that made it okay for me to say yes to is the massive effect it's had on my wife's life. And that as much time as she spends staying in touch and being involved with all the details about helping breakthrough happen every week, this big group of people that she's really connected with and that I have connected with too through her, including you, that stick around for years and years and years and come back class after class after class to help people. And, it's, if it was just like we walk, I don't know, like there's the stuff through your whole life where you're interacting with these people makes it so it's not just about the classroom. It's
Right.
about a thing that you can, make part of your life, and that you don't have to have these people that you're friends with that took it, that where all you talk about is going through your emotions. But like you have to be able to deal with that with people sometimes, that you can have like a friendship where you go do fun things together, and you don't have to be dealing with, you don't have to be talking about how you're not giving yourself enough grace every moment you're hanging out with them.
Right. Well,
Um,
that's certainly not what life's about.
yeah,
Some
for
of
sure.
that is that's certainly working on life and not necessarily working in life. But I do know that a lot of people report the experience of being in that course room and getting to know and connect with people and feel connected in a way that they don't feel connected to people they've known for 40 years. I mean, I don't know if you had any experience like that. Not especially, I suppose.
It's not, like I can't call up one.
Yeah.
But like, the community aspect, like I said, I've been involved in like, communities and
Yeah.
like,
Sure.
the music community is like a big part of my life. And I like do not have necessarily a problem connecting on some level with some people that like I didn't go into Breakthrough like seeking connection.
Yeah.
Like there's
Sure.
I still have to work on getting deeper with people, but like I'm not adrift
It makes sense.
without connection in lots of parts of my life that but yeah, like I said, like watching it with with Laura and the community that she's built out of your community is pretty awesome.
Yeah. She's amazing. Your son's amazing. You're amazing. You have a fabulous family. I'm delighted that you are part of our community. And it's really been enjoyable for us to get to spend this hour with you today. So I want to say we are at the end of our time, and I just wanted to thank you for being so generous with your time.
Oh, thank you. It was fun, and like I said, I think having to talk about it is part of the work too. So it's a little mini course for me, having to get put on the spot.
Well, you did really good on the spot, Jason.
Okay.
Thank you again. And hopefully I will see. Well, I know I will see you on the 4th.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
And look forward to seeing you more in the future. So thank you again.
Thank you.